Everybody, welcome. Everybody, take a seat if you could. We're going to get started with the City of Hammond's first recycling summit ever. Welcome to the Hammond Sportsplex, and on behalf of Mayor Thomas M. McDermott Jr. and the City of Hammond, to the city's first recycling summit. I hope everybody had a chance to take the quiz. I guessed 8. I hope that's right. I guess we'll see in a little bit. But I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Tom, and he's going to take over from here on out. Mayor.
Hi, everybody. I have to say, this is a real big turnout. We appreciate it. I appreciate all the kids being in attendance. I appreciate the parents bringing the kids. I appreciate everybody being here, quite frankly. I want to start off and introduce the Hammond Council members that are in attendance and thank them as well. Let's start with our Councilwoman at Large, Janet Vanez. Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Hessfield's Councilman, which is our 6th district, Scott Rakos. Good to see you, Councilman. We're in the 5th district right now, which is the district I live in. 5th district Councilman is Dave Warple, right in front of me. Represent us with Lake County Government, County Councilman Dave Ham. Thank you very much, Councilman. Hammond's 4th district Councilman, in the back, Bill Emerson. Hammond Councilman at Large, Dan Spitali. Good to see you, Councilman. And I will introduce more as they come in. This all started when we were asking questions about our recycling system. And I'm going to introduce Doug in a second. I'm going to ask him big picture questions. But, you know, I read a lot of newspapers, and we know a lot about what's going on. And you hear about the recycling crisis in America because China's not buying our goods anymore. And then I know how much we voluntarily spend in Hammond to recycle our goods. And we just want to make sure that when we're recycling, that we're doing all we can to help save the earth and help, you know, be a cleaner environment. And so we started asking questions, and I have to say, I got a lot of pushback from the residents when we were asking questions. Is it worth it to recycle anymore? Is it worth it to spend an extra $1 million a year on recycling if at the end of the day it's just getting landfilled anyway? And those questions, I think, woke people up, scared people, made them angry. And I'm talking about, even Marissa was like, are you seriously thinking about getting rid of recycling, Mayor? And she didn't say mayor, by the way. That would be really weird. So it started, we went and visited Republic Recycling with this gentleman right here I want to introduce in a second. I learned a lot. And I think I learned so much I might have passed the test in the back of the room also. But I want to give a warm welcome to Doug Rosenbaum, Republic Recycling.
Thank you, Mayor. So first off, my name is Doug Rosenbaum. I am the general manager in Northwest Indiana. We service pretty much about 85% of the communities in Northwest Indiana, including the recycling program here in Hammond. So as we kind of go through the program, there are going to be some questions that, we're going to do our best to answer all the questions that you may have. Another person I'd like to introduce is Jason Witt. He's standing in the front row. So towards the end of the night, if people have questions, he is another expert when it relates to municipalities and the recycling programs from that standpoint.
Thanks, Doug. So when we get done, I'm sure people have specific questions. We'll be available for it. Thank you.
Yes, we will.
The great thing is we have a star-studded panel that's going to help us with recycling questions and also everyday issues that come up from people that see it every day. I want to start off and introduce a young woman named Janet Romano of Lake County Solid Waste and Management. Thank you very much, Janet.
Thank you.
Janet, you work with Lake County Solid Waste and Recycling?
Lake County Solid Waste Management District.
How long have you been there?
Over 25 years.
Wow. So you know a lot about recycling, obviously.
I do, but I learn something new every day.
That's well. Have you seen many recycling summits like this?
No, this is the first one, and I think it's fabulous.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Janet. Great to see you. I'd like to introduce next a gentleman that's been with the City of Hammond for as long as I've been, plus probably 10 or 15 years. He's a great guy, Johnny Perez. Nice to meet you, Johnny. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Johnny right now working in Public Works. With the gentleman I'm going to introduce next. He runs the Department of Public Works, Gary Gleason. Hey, Gary. No words, huh? How long you been with the city, Gary?
Almost 30 years.
30 years? Nice. Well, one thing I know about Gary, he started from the bottom, worked his way all the way to the top, and it's good to see that. So thank you guys for helping us with the Recycling Summit. I want to start off with a big picture question for Doug, and maybe Jeanette could answer also. What's the crisis with recycling right now? You hear about it, you read about it. What's going on? What's changed?
The biggest issue that we got in recycling right now is what they actually call the China sword. So China actually used to take 65% of the world's recycling. And as they started to do cleaning up the country of China, one of the things that they've done is stopped accepting other people's recycling and waste. So they basically dropped their contamination rate, which used to go to China about 10 to 15%. They dropped it to 0.5%, which is almost impossible to get the recycling that clean. So that's what started this in about mid-2017.
Yeah, when I first took over as mayor, Hammond had our own recycling department, and we didn't have much problem selling recyclables at all. I know it's a lot more challenging now. Do you notice that countywide as well, Jeanette?
It is. It's the same all over. It is.
So part of why we're here today is to talk about contamination in recyclables and how we could make it more likely when we put something in the recycling bin that it actually is getting recycled, right? Because with the best of intentions, if you put something in the recycle bin that's not recyclable, it could contaminate the whole bin, right?
That's correct.
And it's very typical that the average consumer, the average person, puts about 20% of what they put in a recycling bin is actually contaminated. And that is one of the bigger issues, and that is part of what the purpose of this summit is to educate people to make sure they know what is recyclable and what is not.
Okay, so when everybody came in, we put together a really nice interactive table in the back of goods and whether or not they could be recycled. And I know everybody in here took the quiz. We have the results. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin is our Vanna White today. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, so now, do we know what the item was? It says 0.
That's just
Oh, okay, I got you. So some people thought all 10 could be recycled. 7 of you in here thought all 10 could be recycled. That's very optimistic. We appreciate it. Then 11 of you thought that 9 out of 10 would be recycled. 8 of you thought 8 could be recycled. 7 of you thought 7. And it went all the way down to 0. 29 of you thought 0 could be recycled. You know, Doug, could you unveil what could be recycled in the back table? And maybe we could talk about why they can't be recycled.
absolutely. So the answer on the back table for a municipal contract, which is done single stream in a single container, is 0.
Not one of them in the back table could be recycled without contaminating the bin. Now, which ones were the tricky ones? I saw the newspaper inside, like the Sunday paper, inside the plastic bag. Why? You can't just like walk up and put that in recycle? I've done that 1,000 times. Didn't read the newspaper today. I'm going to be saving the earth and just throw it right directly in the recycle bin, right?
Especially, Mayor, it says right on that plastic bag, big bold letters, this plastic bag is recyclable. It says that right on there.
That's why I did it.
And then right underneath it, there's a little bit more fine print that says, if you take it to your local grocery store. So plastics is the #1 contaminant that we have in our waste stream and our recycle bins today. So, and it's not that plastic bags cannot be recycled. It's basically they get caught up in the machinery and actually make the machines bind and actually shut down the operation. So, yes, to Jeanette, they can go to a grocery store, right, Jeanette?
That's correct.
So do you deal a lot with plastic bags, people taking them specifically to the grocery stores?
There are a lot of bags that are being recycled at the grocery stores, the Walmarts, the Kohl's.
Really?
They are taking them there.
That's interesting. I have to start thinking differently then. I know this is a good parlay into our first video. We have a series of videos so that we can visually learn, and they're just short videos. Could we go ahead and start the first video? Do we have to turn the lights down, or? Excellent. Let's go ahead.
We're good to go.
You know all the good things about recycling. It conserves our natural resources, it helps save energy, and it protects the environment. But do you know how recycling really works? Have you ever wondered what happens to all the material you put into your recycling container once it leaves your house?
Let's go look at some of the material that's in here, because when I first look at this, right, they came from a residential, right, neighborhood probably?
Absolutely, yeah. This looks like residential material. You're going to see a blend of, good recyclable materials and some prohibited or contamination.
It almost looks similar to what goes to the landfill.
Just by looking at it, there's good material. We got paper, we got cardboard, we got aluminum cans, we got PET bottles, but I'm also seeing a lot of contamination. I got plastic bags, grocery bags.
All right, so no, we don't want this.
This is a no.
Plastic bags is the #1 contaminant that we actually see for various different reasons. A lot of plastic bags say they are recyclable on top of the plastic bags. A lot of people think it's convenient to put all their aluminum cans in a plastic bag, or in their house they have a container and they fill up the plastic bag up with their recycled materials and they take it out there. So when it gets through the machines, it actually starts to bind and shut down the systems. So if you want to recycle plastic bags, Jeanette, Mayor,
Back to the
Take them to the
grocery
store.
you can take them directly to the store and they will get recycled there.
What does it mean? Because I hear the term a lot, single stream recycling and then curbside recycling. I know what it means now because I visited your plant. What does that mean though? There's a lot of people out here who's probably heard the term and have no idea what single stream recycling is.
And so I actually started with our company about 20 years ago on a recycling route. And back in that day, you would actually go up to the curb, you would pick up the bin, you would take your aluminum can and you would put it in this compartment, you would take your newspaper, put it in this compartment, and as recycling got big, that time and that process to separate everything on the curb just got extremely, extremely expensive. So when they talk about single stream, there's one can, we like everything to be loose in the can, and it goes to the recycling and they have automatic sorters and before they get to people who actually do the sorting. So single stream means it's all in one can, all recycled materials versus source separating at the curb.
Which is what Hammond used to do, as you'll remember. That used to be my wake-up call every Tuesday when the guy would be going down, throwing all the bottles in there, and you'd hear the clink and you'd hear it coming down the street. So basically, you guys just take my recycling bin and you dump it into a truck, and then you dump the truck into that big pile in the plant, and they put it on the machine?
Correct. It starts in a conveyor belt, and as we watch through some of this, you'll see how it actually moves through some of the recycling and how it actually gets separated.
I'm excited. Thank you very much. Let's move on to number 2, plastic containers.
So I made my sandwich with mayonnaise this morning, and I didn't clean it out, and I threw it away. No?
Nah, that's a big problem. We want the plastic, right? I mean, for sure, this is PET. The problem is that it has all kind of leftovers in there.
So what do I do as a customer with this?
It's very simple, man. Before you put it in your bin, just rinse it. I mean, I'm not asking you, put soap in there and take 5-10 minutes just cleaning it, but just try to keep it empty, clean and dry. So just rinse it out with water. Usually, I shake it a little bit, let it go, and then you're good to go.
It's important that we keep all recyclables empty, clean, and dry of all food and liquid. Just one dirty ketchup bottle could contaminate other recyclables in your container and in other places throughout the recycling process.
Ketchup bottle. And you squirt the last thing of ketchup out. You gotta actually take the top off and you have to actually rinse it out?
Yes,
Really?
yes.
Why?
It makes it marketable.
So what would happen if I didn't? I just put a whole thing of ketchup in there.
As most of you guys know, they're picked up in a recycling truck or a garbage truck, and when those start to compress, that ketchup will actually flow out of that particular bottle and contaminate other recyclables that are within that load, and that's the biggest issue with
It's
contamination.
single stream, so everything's going into the truck, and then you're compacting it, and when you compact it, all the liquids inside of the plastic container are squirted out and contaminate the whole load.
That is correct. So ketchup
Starting
on
to
a
learn.
newspaper is not recyclable. The
So you
newspaper-
don't have to put these things in the washing machine, you don't have to wash them out with soap or anything like that, it's just rinse it out, make sure the contaminants are removed.
Yeah, we're real big. It's called empty, clean, and dry. Make sure this item is empty, rinse it out, let it dry a little bit, and then obviously put it back into your recycling.
If anybody has any questions while we're on topic, please raise your hand. Yes, sir. That's a great question. PET.
So PET is just one form. It's a plastic recycling commodity. So depending on what type of plastic it is, it could be PET. So PET is just another way of calling it a plastic water bottle. Could be a PET bottle.
It's code. Yes, sir. Great question. So you got your ketchup bottle. Let's say I went to B-Dubs and I squirted the last of my hot barbecue out, and I still got the B-Dubs sticker on there. I clean it out nicely. I throw it in there, but it's got the sticker on the plastic bottle.
Yeah, so this is a very common question. So in the ideal perfect world, you would actually take that label off. But due to what we're talking, the 0.5% contamination rate, if that was the only thing that was on there, whether it was a label on a can or a sticker still on the bottle, those will still get accepted and they still go through the recycling process. But to be perfect, absolutely, we want to take that stuff off as well.
Okay, great question. Any other questions on plastic bottle? Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So we'll take a Campbell's soup can made out of paper. You can actually take that label off there and keep it separate. So it's harder to get off when it goes through the process of trying to strip a piece of paper off of a tin or aluminum can. But if you already source separate that piece of paper and it's separate and loose in your recycling bin, that's the perfect world of doing it.
Hey guys, I want to remind you, sort of like we do with Mayor's Night Out when we're on a topic, right now the topic is plastic containers. Let's try to stay on topic, and I promise you we're going to cover each of the issues we have coming, okay? Yeah, hi.
Hi, do the caps also need to be removed along with the labels?
Great question.
It can be done either way. We were fine with them on, they were fine with them off.
But if you have the cap on, okay, then it could trap fluid inside, and when it gets compacted, it could blow up, right?
If it's contaminated,
Right.
then absolutely.
Okay. Great question.
Back here, Mayor.
Thank you, Donna.
I think there's a little bit of confusion on the website about what types of plastics and their purpose. For example, plastics 1 through 9 are on the website as being recyclable. However, the website also states that takeout containers are not. Now, many of the takeout containers I use are plastics 1 through 9. So do they fall in the 1 through 9 category, or are they a takeout container if they are clean, rinsed, and dried?
So there's a couple ways can answer this, and we can do this one. Maybe we're jumping a little bit ahead in this, but we'll kind of throw this out here right now. So we'll start off with recycling. We're talking about going back to basics. So I can ask anyone here, is clean newspaper recyclable? The answer is yes. Is a clean plastic bottle recyclable? Yes. Is a plastic bottle number 1 through 3, we're in doubt. So I will tell you right now to start it off. When in doubt, throw it out. So a good guide for you to use, if you take the new plastic water bottles that we have and how they're real flimsy right now, anything of that type of grade and above or thicker is a yes. When we start getting thinner than that type of plastic bottle, when in doubt, throw it out. It's more than likely a no.
So like a takeout type of.
Correct. The real skinny,
real
thin
thin.
takeouts.
Anybody got anything? Learning a lot. Any other questions on plastic bags? Plastic container, excuse me. Yes. All right. I like this one. Hi, buddy. How you like that recycled bin? You have a question? I don't think he's got a question. All right. We'll wait, okay? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How about this little plastic ring on the top?
Yeah, good question. That was sort of the question asked over there. You got the plastic ring on top of the bottle.
And the answer is part of the cap, and the answer to that is yes.
There you go. Well, no, you don't have to take it off if it's dry, but if you've got water in there, of course, you take it off, drain it. Any other questions? Plastic bottles. Are we good with the celebrity panel?
We're good.
All right. All right, let's move on to plastic bags within the recycling bin.
First of all, we want the recyclable material to be loose. Don't bag it, all right? Unfortunately, we're still gonna get it like this. And what we have to do manually, once we feed this into our system, on our pre-sort station, our sorters are gonna have to cut it open to find out what is inside. Okay. We might be lucky, like in this case, it seems like it's really good material. I got PET, I got cardboard, I got aluminum, I got HDPE. It looks like paper and more plastic, so it looks good, right? But at the end of the day, look, I got another bag on the floor that doesn't belong here. This is a no-no. Okay. So that's why we're asking, just keep it loose. Don't bag it, just put your recyclables in the bin.
We want only the key materials we can recycle. Paper, cardboard, metal cans, and plastic bottles and jugs.
How many people in this audience have put their recyclables in a plastic bag to be nice? I'm gonna use both hands because my wife has also.
So Mayor, I'll even say this because this is specific to the City of Hammond. How many people actually have their recycling cart and it sits out at the alley and you bring your recycling to your cart at the end of the alley? A lot of people do that. So what's the most common way to carry your recycles to your recycling cart at the alley? The little plastic bag, you have it in a container in your house that you carry it and then you dump it in there. So the proper way is to dump that recycling material out and keep it loose versus that plastic bag because that becomes a contaminant and is why it is the #1 contaminant that we have.
We have a recycling bin, one of our old recycling bins in the city of Hammond actually, that we use to put our daily recyclables in, and we take the whole bin out and dump it into our can, which is permanently in the alley, so.
And those work very well for that.
I do the same thing, Mayor.
Do you?
Yes, sir.
You guys, how many times you see recyclables in the garbage? Straight up going in the garbage?
Every day.
Every day.
A lot?
Yes.
People just don't understand. I mean, when we went to the seminar, I think there was like 20, 25 of us, and there was probably nobody in that room that didn't at some point put something wrong in there, and still today.
Right.
You know, so when we go there and we'll see stuff going in there, you'll still see cardboard, paper and stuff. They just, either they don't want to recycle or they just don't understand.
You see a lot, I imagine, in the garbage too, like stuff that you're not even supposed to put in the garbage, like.
Oh, lots of times.
Like
yeah,
what?
Chemicals.
Chemicals?
We've
Like
had the
paint
fire
or-
department paint where the truck will actually start smoking because different chemicals are in there that combine together. We have to dump it right out in an alley so the fire department can spray it down and then scrape it with the front end loader and load it all back up.
Wow.
So it is important because people think if they see an aluminum spray can,
Right.
we've seen that.
Yep.
Because it's aluminum, it's still a spray can. Well,
Right.
when that explodes because it's compacted, that's it. There's paint everywhere.
So Doug, you see aluminum spray cans in recyclables a lot?
I've seen pretty much everything in a recycling bin at one point or time or another.
Yeah. And when you compact, if it makes it into the truck, it'll explode, right?
And we've had those fires as well.
Okay. There you go. Learning a lot.
One thing, Mayor, I'd like to touch base is when they had it up here, it said back to the basics, and we're talking about clean paper, clean cardboard, clean plastic jugs, clean metal and tin cans. The one thing that was not on there was glass. The question is, why is not glass in there? Because realistically, about 30% of the United States doesn't even have a market for glass. We are fortunate here in Northwest Indiana because there is a recyclery in Chicago that actually still takes glass. So it is still a commodity that we can actually do. But roughly across the United States, glass is one of those commodities that's not even recycled anymore.
What happens if the glass breaks?
Excuse me. So it can become a contaminant in portions of that, but depending on which recycler they go to, they can actually collect the shards of glass, or at least the bigger chunks, and it still gets recycled. And then some places, depending on where you're at, they have to be in full. They have to be full jars to actually be
But if I
recycled.
put a jar in there and you guys compacted it, you'd probably break it on your own, right?
So some of it will get shattered as it goes through the truck. I would say it's probably roughly about 20 to 25%
Really?
that actually go there, depending what the other mix of recycling material is around that jar when it gets scooped up into the truck or brought into the bottom of the truck.
Okay. So could you give me some examples of what happens at the recycling facility you have if we put the wrong things inside the recycling stream?
Absolutely. So the biggest issue that we actually run into when we talk about contaminants, so we can talk about a couple of the most major contaminants that we have. Plastic bags, I've said it 3 times already, the #1 contaminant. Greasy pizza boxes, #2 contaminant.
Guilty.
I think everybody's probably guilty because we look at it. It's cardboard, we chuck
It's
and
a lot
go.
of cardboard too.
It's a lot of cardboard. A lot of us eat too much pizza,
I
so
eat a
that's
lot
kind
of
of the way
pizza.
that one works. But we get all kinds of things. Clothing, shoes, carpet, garden hoses, wire, and when it goes through that process, it actually binds it where it actually shuts down the process. So if a recyclery can process 350 tons in a day, it's basically on the speed of the belt that everything runs in there. But all of a sudden, if there's a lot of contaminants, they have to slow that down, and now they can only do 100 tons a day, which makes that 3 times the cost to get the same amount of material through, or it binds the machines up and shuts it down. And if one conveyor belt shuts down here, it shuts down the entire process. So keeping those type of contaminants, especially wires, plastic bags, garden hoses, all those type of things are a big deal going through that
And if
machine.
you're operating slowly in the plant, it doesn't slow down. The recyclables don't slow down coming in.
That's correct. And then the biggest issue on that is 3 times the cost. So they can start stockpiling it and to get caught up, or they can run, instead of running an 8-hour shift, now we're going to run a 16-hour shift. Well, we still didn't get enough process. So now we're going to run a 24-hour shift. So now we're running 3 times the cost to process the same amount of recycler if it was running at full capacity, if it was clean.
Okay, let's go ahead and check out the video about what happens if we put the wrong things in the recycling stream.
In a high-tech facility like this, we can process up to 350 tons per day when everyone recycles properly. But if our recycling stream gets contaminated with non-recyclable waste, it slows down the whole process.
Look what we found. So first, a bunch of cables, and then this looks like a rug.
Oh, so someone actually put that in the recycle bin.
Somebody did. So somebody thought that that was recyclable material, and they sent it to us.
Wow, so actually what it does is it not only slows this down, but it potentially causes problems for our machinery.
Absolutely, you saw the size of that rug, so that can jam the equipment. You know, if these guys are not paying attention and for some reason and it's not going into the screen, that's gonna get jammed and that's gonna cause downtime. And you know, I mean, that's definitely something that we don't want to go through.
You actually got a rug before?
We've everything from animals to rugs. I think when we were doing on our tour, when we did that tour, I was sitting at one part just watching stuff, and I saw, I believe it was 9 pairs of different type of shoes that actually were coming through the recycling facility.
Wow, that's crazy. Any questions on this so far? Forgot to go back to the audience. Yes, we got a question over here. Yeah, go ahead, sir. I'll repeat it. Shredded paper. That's a great question. You know, a lot of times we're shredding, you know, confidential information, and it leaves just a huge pile of shred. Can we put that in the recycling bin?
So the answer, shredded paper, loose in your cart, would be the proper way. If you put it into a plastic bag, which
Loose.
is very common, that plastic bag is still a contaminant.
So you could dump from your recycling bin all the shred into your recycling bin, and you could recycle that.
And we had to change that process in my office. So in my office, we actually used to have,
Good
where our
question.
shredder was, it used to go into a black plastic bag. And we actually stopped, we actually pulled the black plastic bag out now, and it just goes into the empty container, and then we can just walk that empty container to the recycling can that we have right behind our office.
Okay, we got another question. How you doing, sir?
Earlier you mentioned the aerosol cans. Are we not supposed, like air freshener and stuff, we're not supposed to put them in there?
Great question. Aerosol cans, air freshener, in the recycling stream?
So any type of compressed air that goes inside of those things, the answer is no. You don't want any type of compressed air. Now there are ways, and Jeanette can actually talk to you specifically about aerosol cans, because they do have special programs from that, so I'll let Jeanette kind of take that.
You want to bring those aerosol cans to a household hazardous waste collection. We have 9 events during the better weather months, and in fact, our very last one for this year is going to be held at Hammond Public Works on Saturday, October 26th, this Saturday.
Nice.
From 9 to 2.
Good timing.
It's perfect timing.
Yeah.
And we're also having a document shredding happening that same day in conjunction with it from 9 to 1 at the same location.
Nice. How often do you guys see aerosol cans in the garbage stream?
All the time.
Another problem?
It's a regular, yes.
Because they get
Hairspray. Usually
blows up?
they're the pink colored hairspray cans. You just notice them right away.
Yeah?
You know, and they're
What's the danger? It's the danger is the compressed air.
still, it'll explode. Yeah. And
Wow.
you'll hear it. Sometimes you'll hear it while it's going in the trucks. We'll be with the guys. You hear the explosions in the truck.
Wow. Okay, questions?
Right here, Mayor.
All right, thanks, Donna.
What about adhesive that's on envelopes and things like that? Is that a problem? And if I'm just opening mail and it's a lot of stuff that I don't care about, can I just drop it in the recycling?
Great, I do it all the time. Good question. Like, it's a sales, envelope or something like that, and you don't even bother to open, you just put it right in recycling.
So
I
the
do it
answer
all
is,
the time.
yeah, they'll call it junk mail or envelopes, whatever the case. Absolutely, those are recyclable. It's clean paper, as long as it's not contaminated. We put it on our counter, spilt our milk on it, kind of wiped it up real quick, then it's not.
The adhesive is not going to be enough to contaminate it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last
The
part.
adhesive on the back of the envelope, the part you lick, that's not going to contaminate it?
No, that is fine.
Thank you.
The tape that's on like cardboard boxes, are we supposed to take those off before we recycle them?
Good question. You get something from Amazon and it's like taped shut.
It is, yes, the answer is preferred to have that. They actually do have some cardboard that if you ever seen it's almost got like a white film over the top of it. I forgot what it's actually called, but that is actually not recyclable. So you want clean cardboard, and if they do have some type of tape or packaging tape, which is very common, please take that off.
Styrofoam during Christmas, we got it everywhere.
So styrofoam is not an acceptable item in your curbside recycling program, but if you wanted to reach out to Jeanette,
you can take
she's got
that?
options.
We do not. That goes in the trash.
Yeah.
That changed. There was about 2 years ago, I thought they had something that they were doing special with styrofoam, so that's no longer.
There is a method, but it is not local. It's downstate. They actually melt the styrofoam, and it
turns into oil.
Gets very heavy.
Yeah.
And then there's another machine that will actually expand it again, where a manufacturer will be able to use it in their manufacturing. But there's nothing here Lake County-wise, even in Illinois, nothing
Okay.
close to us.
Gary, Johnny, you guys
Sorry.
see styrofoam all the time,
It's-
obviously,
it's-
right?
Everything.
Egg cartons.
Yes.
Yeah, just smash
For
it down.
some
right?
reason, an egg carton, I used to do it.
Egg cartons? You can't recycle an egg carton?
Not the plastic ones.
Dang.
You see them in there regular.
I'm
and it
good. I'm
just
glad I
catches
came
your
to the
eye.
recycling summit. Hi, ma'am.
Hello, I have a question. If we get a padded envelope in the mail, sometimes they're plastic, sometimes they're paper, but it's plastic bubble wrap attached to the envelope. Is that junk mail or is that plastic bags or?
So
Great question.
It's a great question. So I'll start with this. We kind of said it earlier. When in doubt,
throw it out.
Throw it out. So the answer to your direct question is no, because it's got that different type of plastic film in there. So it goes to what do I call typical questions as people are starting asking. What if, what is this maybe possibly? When in doubt, throw it out. It's called wishful recycling, and we are all guilty of it because it has always been accepted for the last 15 years. So the new kind of moving forward, when in doubt, you're not sure, throw it out.
Okay. When in doubt, throw it out. All right, we got a question back there.
Just one more question on
Sure.
the junk mail.
It's no problem.
You have the plastic window and sometimes staples. Is all of it garbage or recycle?
Staples, you would actually throw out. I didn't see who actually answered the question. Staples, we should not be accepting through the recycling process. The plastic windows are still accepted as we speak today.
All right. Another question? Stained glass?
Yes, stained glass is a no. We're talking about your typical brown, white, and green bottles, pickle jars, stuff like that is still a yes in this area.
Brown, white, and green bottles. Like Heineken.
If that's the green bottle you have, Mayor, then that would be acceptable at this
I
time.
mean, I don't have a problem or anything. I'm just saying. Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the next. Oh, we got another question. Hold on, I'll get this one.
I got one here too, Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
Some junk mail is like highly glossy or even like laminated almost. Is that recyclable?
So we'll go back to, as we always say before, when in doubt, throw it out. But the answer is a majority of what you're talking about is a yes. There are some portions of it, depending on what they actually type of film they put on it, could be a no. So it's one of those questionable things. So I'll always go back and I'll say it. You'll hear me say this many times tonight. If you're thinking about it and you don't know, we're going back to basics. When in doubt, throw it out.
All right, here we go. Hi.
Okay, my question is about junk mail too. Somebody mentioned something about not even opening it up and just throwing it in their recycle thing. but I find a lot of things come now. They, you know, they give you a little fake, like a fake credit card or a fake ID card, and it's got that gummy stuff on it. Is that going to mess up everything by throwing, you know, automatically just tossing that without looking at it?
That's a question.
Great question, and the answer is yes. So actually, just taking something that is junk mail that you haven't looked at, I would always look inside to see what is inside there. So there's very typical, you know, a lot of them are cardboard, fake credit cards. Obviously, those can be recycled, but to your point, the glue or the gummy part that actually holds some of these things together is not a recyclable, and it can contaminate the load.
I'm really good about security. I don't want to put anything in the garbage where I'm going to get my identity compromised. Sometimes you get the mail where they're soliciting and they got my name on it. It says Tom McDermott, you can have a credit card. Sometimes I rip it up because I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to read it, but I know it's got a credit card, so I rip the credit card and I throw both ends into the recycling bin.
And that's a habit of mine as well. No matter if it's this junk mail, it's got my name, it's got my address. So almost any of the type of junk mail that I actually do at my house, I have a tendency to kind of shred it a couple times and then put it in the recycling bin.
I do the same thing. That doesn't hurt you guys.
No, not at all.
All right.
Okay, right here, Mayor.
Where? Okay, thank you.
This isn't a question, but like, there is a place you can go online where you can not get junk mail. You can ask for them just not to bring junk mail to your house.
Wow.
That way you don't even have to deal with it at all.
I could knock that out and the phone calls to my cell phone. I'd have the perfect life. So.
The only problem with that is, you know, my wife likes the junk mail. It's got them coupons when they come in here. She'd probably shoot me if I did that.
All right, my man. What's your name?
What about if you like throw away a light?
A light. That's a really good question. Like a light bulb?
Yeah.
Good question. It happened. I've done it before. What happens if you get a light bulb in the recycling stream? Good question.
So that is a great question. So we can talk about light bulbs, fluorescent light bulbs. That is actually called a universal waste. And they can be recycling, but it is a whole separate program. We'll call electronic waste, universal waste. Those are two separate programs as it relates to light bulbs or any type of electronics. Can they be recycled? Absolutely, but it's wholeheartedly a separate program, and they cannot be put into your recycling cart.
You're not even really supposed to put them in the garbage stream either, right, guys?
Nope.
Correct. It's a universal waste.
How often do you see that? Somebody puts like a fluorescent light?
All the time.
All the time?
Yeah, it's regular.
Regular?
Mm-hmm.
Fluorescents you want to bring to a household hazardous waste collection.
Right.
Or your Menards will also take them too.
Really?
Yes.
Did not know
And
that.
there's ways, if you looked at our website, they have universal waste programs that you can actually get rid of your light bulbs, and electronic waste programs that you can actually do that, as well as Jeanette has lots of access through the solid waste district on how to get rid of some of those type of trickier items.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the next part of the video, which is what happens after processing, closing the recycling loop.
This is not the end for this material, which is the most important thing. You know, I mean, from here, it's going to go to paper mills where, you know, I mean, they're going to be making new material, new paper, new cardboard. Or in case of the plastic, you know, I mean, we got customers that can make carpet and can make T-shirts, a lot of stuff out of recyclable material.
So most likely that bale right there, right, what's in that bale, I might touch again.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You know, I mean, just a fun fact, you know, I mean, like aluminum cans, you know, it takes about 60 days from the moment that you put that can in your recycling bin to the moment that it will be, you know, I mean, back in the market. So it comes to a place like this, we sort it out, we bale it, we send it to our customers, and they're going to produce, you know, new aluminum, and then you're going to go there and
2 months.
Yeah.
2 months, I throw it in the recycle bin, and then maybe I'm holding that and drinking out of that can again.
Correct.
Dude, that's more than fun. It is. It's an awesome fun fact. Recycling creates a circle called the recycling loop. It starts with collecting recyclables and then turning them into new products. When people buy these products made from recycled materials, we say they are closing the recycling loop.
Those are some good actors you got there. They put us on our commercial the same.
Exactly.
Let me ask you a question. Who are some of your customers that buy your end products? Is there like companies that buy them and they turn them into?
There's multi-facet customers all across the United States. You know, we can start everything from Amazon or the makers who make the cardboard boxes for Amazon. You know, so they've actually got manufacturers that make specific boxes for Amazon. So it's not necessarily that we're dealing directly with Amazon, but we can go through someone in the local community like Pratt Industries. And they'll take that recycling and they'll build recycling boxes and it goes from there. So it's going to the manufacturers of the packaging companies for the most part, and then they'll actually do service to every company that's everybody knows.
Right across the street from where we are right now is a company called Hutamaki, and I know a lot about this company as mayor, obviously. I know one of the things that they do is the drink holders you get at Wendy's. When they put the drinks in the drink holder, that is one of Hutamaki's main products from what I remember. So basically they're buying cardboard or newspaper and they're recycling it and turning it into, which is closing the recycling.
And there's another one that's down right next to where our landfill is that does the same thing. They make egg cartons and they take recycled paper, junk mail, and some types of cardboard, and they actually create the, you know, like the little purple egg cartons that they use, and that's their main process or their main primary business.
Is Hutamaki one of your customers?
I would actually have to go. I do not know off the top of my head. I'd have to go look. The answer is yes. I've been corrected from the front
Even
row.
if it's not true. I mean, let's just throw it out. Okay. Any other questions on closing the recycling loop? Any other questions we missed? All right, we got one in the back.
I was wondering with the bottles and the cans, should you be crushing them or should you leave them whole?
Either way is fine as long as they're empty, clean, and dry. However you do that is fine.
Any other questions? Any topic, really? Because we sort of went through each of them. We got another one, Donna?
Yeah, how about Roundup containers? I got about 3 or 4 containers with Roundup. I know it's pretty controversial as it is now. Where would you dispose of those particular containers?
So they can actually be cleaned to the point, but they're going to call it a triple rinse basin. But those type of containers that have questionable material, whether it could, you know, any type of gas, flammable type of material, they're great to go to Jeanette's household hazardous waste.
Jeanette, you have household waste collections regularly, right?
We do. We have 9 throughout the year between April and the end of October. Because we don't have a permanent facility, we travel throughout the county. It's open for any Lake County household resident to attend those.
So if you have Roundup, then you save it up for these special collection dates?
If you have Roundup, bring it to us. We will take it.
Because you don't want to dump that into the system either.
That is correct.
Right.
Any kind of hazardous, flammable, pesticide, insecticide, gasoline, kerosene. We do have a whole list on a brochure at the table back there that we do accept through our program. And then check our website. There's more on that list.
Thank you. Great questions. All right, let's go ahead and go through the next part, another push on recycling.
Not only does recycling help keep our towns and neighborhoods clean, it turns used plastic, paper, and metal into all sorts of other products we use every day. Remember, you can make a difference in your school, at home, and in your community by recycling and helping others become better recyclers.
I was just thinking about something. I'm a baseball coach. Most Hammond residents know that, Doug. And there's so many times after like a full day of playing baseball, you go into the dugout and there's a garbage can with just piled high with Gatorade. You know, some of them are half full, some of them have a couple sips left in it. I mean, that's just contaminated really, unless somebody manually at the Little League fields goes through and dumps them all out. The entire thing's contaminated, right?
Absolutely, it can be contaminated depending on what's left inside those bottles. And so every community, some people do better jobs with those type of programs, and then some communities don't do as well as it relates to those type of programs.
The funny thing is, most often when I'm at a sports facility, they're in a recycle bin. And everybody feels good, like you said, wishful recycling. You're like, I'm saving the world, right? Boom, drop a 3/4 full Gatorade in there. And you're really not saving the world, you're actually...
It becomes a contaminant. So a lot of times, especially with the liquids, you know, basically on our table back there, there's a lot of items that were recyclable if you actually emptied and cleaned them out. And the problem is when you take especially cardboard and paper and you have some type of liquid on there, those destroy the cardboard and paper, and that's how that contaminant spreads, and then it just keeps soaking into other materials, and all of a sudden the material that you have there is now 25% contaminated versus what's typical right now of about 20.
Poured rain the other day, and I got up to get my morning newspaper, and my carrier just can't get it on the porch, right? And I went out there and I had 2 Sunday newspapers just drenched to the bone, because that's a really thin plastic bag that covers those papers. So that's garbage, right?
Well, a dedicated recycler, Mayor, would actually take those wet newspapers and hang them on a little clothesline in the house and let them dry,
I'm not
and then
that
you can put them back in there.
I was too busy complaining about
But
the newspaper.
your point, yes, it would be a contaminant.
So really, like, wet newspaper is just gone, right?
Wet newspaper is a contaminant. That's what the biggest process that we've had all across the United States, as in some portions of the United States, not here in the Midwest. Fortunately, knock on wood, they're doing very well. But when they have outdoor storage facilities, Midwest, we have winter, we have snow, so a lot of recyclables are stored indoors to protect from the elements. But down south, Texas, California, where those are stored outside, when this happened and everything was getting stockpiled, they would have rain events, and after all the cardboard that was stockpiled outside, after 4 or 5 months of the rain that was going on there, all of a sudden you had millions of tons being landfilled because they just couldn't move it at that point in time.
Because
we're fortunate in the Midwest just because of how we store some of the recyclables.
Well, yeah, and one of the things I noticed when I toured your facility was, and I imagine it's because of China not buying as much, it seemed like there was mountains of recyclables everywhere, talking 50 feet high. You'd walk by cardboard, it'd be stacked like really high, and there's cans and there's everything just piled up everywhere.
And that's correct. So, 2 years ago, they would stockpile some recyclables because, hey, next month, or they're thinking that 6 months from now, that market will change and they can get a better price on the material. Typical supply and demand. Where now, it sits for longer periods of time to try to make sure that it actually goes to a manufacturer that can actually use that product. And that's part of the supply and demand and why the recycling market has literally dropped over the course of the last year and a half.
So what's the easiest thing to recycle? What is the easiest thing for you guys to sell now?
The most, if we talk easiest, so we'll talk about any of the 4 basics or 5 basics are the easiest to sell but holds the most value. Aluminum still holds the most value. Cardboard was always number 2, but has actually dropped 70% in the last year.
Is that because of China?
Yes, just due to the commodity and the stockpiling of the material. Paper products, junk mail has dropped almost 95% over the course of the last year and a half of the value. So it's amazing how that commodity is streamed. It is still the right thing to do. It's still the best thing to do for your planet. But realistically, there is just now a cost to actually do that. It is, generally speaking, around the Midwest, almost 3 times as much to process and get rid of recyclables than it is your trash.
Why doesn't America do something about this? Why do we need to rely on China to process these goods?
So honestly, it's just been the easiest way to do it. It was the cheapest cost for all across the United States. I think it was 65%. Jason probably can confirm that was actually going to China. So the domestic markets were never here. So from that standpoint, that's what the future can bring. Is it still going to change that? We will never have the capacity of what China has, even in the domestic, from what they were actually taking. So we're still going to have an oversupply demand, and that's why we don't see the future as it relates to the commodity pricing ever getting back to what it ever will be.
Wow. Questions? Yes, sir. How you doing?
Hi, I have 3 questions actually. Earlier you said plastic bottles with or without the cap is fine, but I read somewhere recently if you're going to recycle the cap, it has to be on the bottle. If it's loose, it can gum up whatever machines it goes through.
So they recommend that you do keep them on there, but they do still, the majority of them will still make them through if they're not on there. So
and then glass jars, I understand they're recyclable. You have to take the label off and all that. What about the metal lid?
So a tin or an aluminum metal lid, absolutely.
And some of them have that plastic coating on in the inside?
Those are still recyclable.
Okay, good. And then the last one, how do you recycle magazines since they have staples?
So some magazines do have staples, some of them don't. Generally speaking, most magazines still can go through the recycling process. Those little small staples will actually generally get how do you say, separated when it goes to what they call a fluffer, which is a wire wheel. It'll pull those portions out of it. But if it's possible not to have staples in any type of things that we're going, we would rather not have them in there.
Jeanette, I remember a couple of years ago, Councilwoman at Large Janet Venez had a proposal where you collected plastic bottle caps and turned them into Lake County solid waste, and they made benches out of them.
That's correct.
And
It's
I'm-
called
I'm-
our Caps to Benches program.
I'm an avid cyclist, and I've seen these all over Lake County. I've seen them going out to Crown Point. Is that
Yes.
something that's still going?
It's a program we do have every year. It starts, our kickoff is in February, and it's based on what the manufacturer guidelines that they want us to use. So every year we wait for them to give us a new guideline. Last year was children had to be involved in it because that's where that program started to teach the children to recycle, was to collect the caps, and then the caps were turned into benches. And I know Councilwoman Venez is very familiar with this program because she has worked with us the past few years on it. So
I love that program.
thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Everybody loves it.
And
It's
those
a good
benches
program.
those benches are great.
Yes.
They're very heavy duty.
They're like almost 100 pounds or 200 pounds,
Yeah.
something like that.
Really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, we're going to show you the video. We made a video for this, and we're going to put it out on Go Hammond. I think it's a good video that can educate the public, and it'll certainly entertain you for the next 3 minutes. And then we're going to start wrapping up with any final questions you may have. So why don't we go ahead and jump into the video, and then I'm going to introduce the actors and actresses that helped us with this video, and then we'll wrap up with any questions you have. So Hammond's recycling video.
Hey Timmy, Hammond Mayor Thomas McDermott Jr. here today. Today's recycling day in Hammond. Would you like to come along with me and see some of the do's and don'ts of recycling? That's what I thought. Look Timmy, there's Kevin. Kevin, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Mayor, I'm just recycling all these plastic bags.
You can't recycle plastic bags. Did you know those bags could get into the machinery and clog things up?
Well, jeepers, Mayor, no. What's the worst that could happen?
That's why you don't put plastic bags in the recycling bin. Come on, Timmy. Hey, look, there's Megan. Megan, what are you doing?
Hi, Mayor Tom. I'm just recycling my pizza box from last night.
Did you know you cannot put greasy pizza boxes in the recycling bin? They cannot be recycled.
Really? It's not that greasy. What's the worst that could happen?
That's right. Dirty pizza boxes belong in the trash. Come on, Timmy. Hey, look. It's Tiffany. How's it going, Tiffany?
Hey, Mayor. Just finished cleaning up, throwing out my recycling before I head out.
Looks to me like you have some contamination in those plastic bottles. You need to rinse those plastic bottles out and take off the sticker before they go in the recycling bin. Failure to do so can contaminate the whole load.
I don't have time for that. What's the worst that could happen?
Damn you all to hell!
That's why you wash that stuff out before you recycle it.
Eureka, Timmy! That's great!
Hey, Mayor Tom, can you hold this for me?
I'd love to, Timmy. Let's go. Hey, look, there's an aluminum can right there.
Let's recycle it.
That's a great idea, Timmy. Whoa, there's something in that can. Carney, are you recycling cans or stealing them?
You'll never catch me.
Well, we learned a lot today about the do's and don'ts of recycling. For more recycling tips, go to gohammond.com/recycling. Did you know that recycling greasy pizza boxes, you cannot recycle the box? Hammond Mayor Thomas McDermott Jr. Try it again. Did you know greasy pizza boxes cannot be recycled?
Hey, Mayor.
You have some contaminated materials in those boxes. Boxes.
Okay.
Are you stealing cans or recycling them? Wait a second. Golly gee, there's something in that can. Hey, it's the carny. Did you know that those recycling... Ah! Dang!
I want to start off and thank the director who's back there of the video, John Vesmar. Great job, John. Sure to get an Academy Award. I want to thank Ryan Campbell. Ryan, stand up and acknowledge your people. He is Timmy in the video. Great job. I want to thank Tiffany Shelton. Where are you, Tiffany? Great job, Tiffany. Megan Flores. Where are you at, Megan? I'll take it up with her why she's not at the Recycling Summit tomorrow. All right. Great job, Megan. Of course, Kevin Smith. And if you ever see our Festival of Lakes videos, we have a recurring theme with the carny showing up every time. The carny is played very, very well by the 5th District Councilman Dave Orpel. Good job, Dave. So anyway, we're going to blast that out tomorrow, make it available to schools and everything. That's the Recycling Summit, right?
Absolutely. I would like to remind everybody here on that back table as you walk in, there is a lot of educational material. I believe from GoHammond.com and recycling. There's also from Republic Service called Recycling Simplified that has a lot of educational materials from pre-kindergarten all the way up through high school. So there's a lot of material that they can actually go from that standpoint.
Oh, we have 2 more questions. Oh, I forgot about them.
2 of the written questions.
Written questions.
Yes, and they're good. That's why I'm stopping.
Okay, let's go.
What % of plastic recyclables are recycled in the United States, and which isn't? Where do they go of the percentage that isn't recycled?
So these are the good questions that are real difficult. So I like to throw them to the mayor. And see how he does.
What % gets recycled?
What % of plastic recycling bottles do not get recycling, or how much in the United States do?
I'm going to say 65%.
So the answer worldwide is 9%. What happens to the rest of them? Landfilled.
Really?
And generally speaking, yes.
That stinks.
9%.
All right. Okay.
Next question, Mayor, a real good one. I live in a Hammond high-rise. I want to know how we can start recycling because it's important. I need some ideas so I could spread it around our high-rise. How can we get started?
That's a great question. There's very few high-rises, so I know that we have a couple high-rises that are privately owned, and you would have to talk to the landlord, basically the owner of the building in that case, to get on board with the recycling. The recycling program is available for Hammond residents. Businesses are not allowed to participate in our recycling program that you all do. I imagine you have a lot of private customers, though.
Absolutely. So we do have a lot of landlords, tenants, high-rises, apartment buildings, and some of them offer trash only, and some of them offer trash and recycling options. So to any of the vendors out there, Republic Service and elsewhere, there are recycling options for those particular buildings.
Any others, Donna?
That's it.
Any other follow-up questions? All right. I'll go get Rose. How you doing?
You know, I'm going to brag about one of the facilities in Hammond. When we talked about recycling of plastic bags, and that really is not a thing, we are amassing them at the Pulaski Park Senior Center, at Pulaski Park in Hammond. We are actually cutting the bags into strips and then tying them together. It's called plarn. And with the plarn, we are weaving mats for the homeless. And we have made dozens of mats. We are doing this in conjunction with some of the area churches, but we are actually going to Strax and getting used bags, and especially if you save your newspaper plastics, we are using those because they're colored and it makes the mats look like something other than just an industrial product. It gives it a little bit of color and a little bit of life. So that is one of our Hammond facilities.
Thank you very much, Rose.
And Mayor, that's phenomenal. That's the first I've heard of any type of project. So that is a phenomenal way to recycle plastic bags.
Hammond people are creative and thrifty, I can tell you. Questions? We got a question back there.
I got her.
Thank you.
I just wanted to put a final comment out there about thank you to the City of Hammond for continuing this project, because obviously it's important to a lot of people, and I know not everybody feels this way, but I've been recycling for over 40 years. You know, back then we used to do it for money with my family, and of course we started doing it in high school back in the 90s. It became more of a, save the earth kind of thing. So when the city was considering eliminating it, it was obviously a big concern for me. So just thank you for continuing this.
Thank you very much. And look around, by the way. I do Mayor's Night 6 times a year. I do community meetings all the time. This is a big crowd. So this is something that people care about. When we even broached the subject, let me assure you, I was roundly beat up. And I'm used to getting beat up, but the backlash when we even talked about it was tremendous. So it's something I know that is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, and that's why we're here. We want to do it better. We want to make sure that we're minimizing the waste and the contamination so that when we are recycling it, it's actually going to the right place.
And so one of the things it is everybody in this room can't really control the commodity market and where it's going. What you can control is the contamination that you put in your own household, and how you share that information with everybody to make that a cleaner product so it can get the processing costs down, so it is a more marketable situation, and these materials can continue to be recycled and they don't get to an expense where it kind of just starts falling off.
Last question. Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to follow up on the thank you for keeping this program going, and I wanted to also extend a huge thank you. I work at the Hammond Civic Center, and the facility has these wonderful clear bags that hold and contain recycling. So I went to look at the company who offers these, and one of the best, most positive, I think, reasons for these recycling bins is that they're clear, and they're really, really, really safe for our police department. Because if they're used out in the public, for example, a football game or in the downtown Hammond area, the city can see what's being dropped inside what's in this bag. So it's a really great idea, and I love it that it's at Hammond Civic Center, but I'd like to see it more in the city of Hammond. I'd love to see it in the downtown area and across.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
It's a really great idea.
I'll make sure Mark hears. Thank you very much, ma'am. Any other questions? I want to say thank you to the Hammond residents that showed up. And by the way, there's more people in this room than just Hammond residents. There's residents from all over Northwest Indiana. This was primarily about Hammond single stream recycling, but this is about recycling in general and the problems we've encountered. I want to thank the actors and the actresses that helped us. I want to thank Gary Gleason, Johnny Perez, and Jeanette Romano. Can you give them a big round of applause, everybody?
You guys too.
And to my co-host, Doug Rosenbaum, thank you very much, Doug. Give him a big round of applause. Public Recycling. And to you, the residents, thank you so much for coming out. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I certainly did. I'm going to adjust my behavior accordingly. Thank you all very much for coming to the first annual Recycling Summit.
Thank you, Mayor.
I figure you need water. There you go.